Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military with Summary channel. In this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. According to information we have, the Russians during the previous 24 hours launched another massive attack through the territory of Ukraine, this time just using drones. And this is the article that was published by pro-Ukrainian sources this morning, and according to these numbers, the Russians launched 149 drones through the territory of Ukraine, and the Ukrainians managed to bring down 131. So the Russians, as we can see, continue bombing and attacking the critical infrastructure of Ukraine, trying to destroy it or to damage this as much as possible. Furthermore, from Ukraine, we received lots of updates about the situation in their energy sector. The sources are saying that tomorrow, means today, there will be no electricity for 16 hours all around Ukraine. 16 hours for people during the winter period of time without any electricity. Between 2.5 and 4 queues of consumers will be out of power. And during the previous 12 hours, the pro-Ukrainian sources published these photos where we can see the exact situation on the territory of the city of Kiev. This is the blackout. This is the Kiev's blackouts. Most of the city without electricity. Most of the city have no possibilities to supply and support itself with energy. There are lots of lights, as you can see, but the sources are saying that there are generators that people use for their own purposes. Maybe the entire building can be generated, supplied with electricity with generator or something like this. So the situation is critical. Furthermore, pro-Ukrainian sources began publishing videos of like this type. In the Kyiv region, locals have begun blocking traffic in protest against the lack of power for the second day. So I'm not sure that the situation, these protests and blackout can change the entire situation, but who knows what is going to be next. Another important statement was made by the Secretary of Rada Committee on National Security, Kostenko. He said that either forced mobilization or a new social contract. Those who want to fight, fight, and those who don't, leave the country, leave Ukraine as soon as possible. And you know that today the President of the United States of America made a very interesting statement on the matter of the peaceful settlement of the conflict in Ukraine. He said that Zelensky hasn't even read the peace proposals. So this is a very interesting statement. The Ukraine is being attacked by Russia with drones, with missiles every single day, and there is a negotiation process between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States of America, and there are almost ready agreement. There is an agreement that is almost ready, but Trump says that Zelensky still hasn't even read the paper, so which is a very, very strange situation. Another important video was published today from the northern part of the Chernigov region. Let's take a look at the video, and here we can see the Chernigivskaya power station, which is located in the southern part of the city, and there is another power station, gas power station, which is located probably a few kilometers in the northwestern direction. And here we can see how Russians were destroying this gas power station with drones, with grand drones. So lots of explosions, as you can see, were recorded, and this is the station from another angle. So Russians will continue their attacks. It's just the beginning of winter. There are 3 more months ahead of us, which means that the Russians will deal significant damage to Ukraine, and that's the current blackout obviously is not the last blackout that we will see and we will face during the next 3 months. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation on the ground. First, let's talk about the northeastern part of Kharkiv region. During the previous 12 hours, additional photo was published about the situation in the area of the settlement of Stary Saltov. Here we can see the dam and the bridge that were destroyed by Russians as a result of missile or as a result of drone strike. So the Russians are trying to ruin or reduce the Ukrainian logistic capabilities in the northeastern part of Kharkiv region. The Russians are trying to continue their offensive operation and to establish complete control over the territory. Now let's talk about the Barovo direction. From this area, we received just one small update from the most eastern part from this area. This morning, pro-Russian sources published this video where we can see the results of clashes for the territory. Here we can see a destroyed Ukrainian infantry fighting carrier, and here we can see how Russians raised their flag or flags right exactly in this area. So Russians raised the flag right exactly at this point, and based on this video we have adjusted a small part of the Barovo direction under complete control of the Russian forces. As for the Liman and as for the Sivas directions during the previous 24 hours, during the previous 12 hours, we haven't received anything special. As for the Konstantinovka direction, today pro-Ukrainian sources confirmed that the Russians managed to establish almost complete control over the territory to the south of the Pechenegi water reservoir. To the south of the Kliban-Bytska water reservoir, So this territory was captured by Russians according to pro-Ukrainian sources, which means that the Russians are ready to advance further in the northern direction and to begin offensive operation towards the city of Konstantinovka. Now let's discuss the situation in the Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomerations. During the previous 12 hours, as you can see, the map has been adjusted significantly. This is the situation by the end of the 7th of December. Just yesterday, the Russians stated that they managed to establish complete control over the settlement by the name of Rovne. And this morning, by the way, several pro-Russian sources published a video of how the clashes were taking place on the territory of the settlement of Rivne. We still haven't managed to find geolocations, but we believe that during the upcoming 12 hours, we're going to get them and we will adjust the map and we will add the video. At the same time, several pro-Russian sources confirmed additional progress on the ground. Let's talk about Mirnograd first. In the southern part of the city, as you can see, there are huge changes. So this is the map by the end of the 7th of December, and this is the situation by the beginning of the 8th of December. The Russians managed to establish complete control over the southern part of the settlement, and the most important is that the Russians entered the northern part of the clashes for the central citadel of the city of Mirnograd has begun. So the central Mirnograd citadel is the territory between the settlement, between the Proletarskaya street and further to the north, almost to the Soborna street, at least until the railway station. So this is a very big, huge citadel from the south to the north, and the Russians entered this territory. Furthermore, the map has been adjusted based on the video that was published by pro-Ukrainian sources. Here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking Russians through the southern part of the settlement of Mirnograd. Based on this video, we came to the conclusion that the Russians during the previous days improved their position significantly in this area. Furthermore, this information was also confirmed by pro-Ukrainian sources. So as we can see, the news around the city of Mirnograd from the southern part is tightening. Furthermore, several pro-Russian sources reported about additional progress on the ground in the northern part of the Pokrovsk-Mirnograd agglomeration. Some trenches, some strongholds were captured by Russians, according to pro-Russian sources. Another important video came to us from the settlement of Rodinska. This is the video, and here we can see how Ukrainians were attacking Russians with FPV drones through the settlement by the name of Rodinska. So, for example, this episode when a Ukrainian FPV drone attacked two Russian soldiers took place exactly in this area. Based on this video, we came to the conclusion that the Russians also continue improving their positions in the central part and in the northern part of the city of Rodinska, and now we can say that up to 80% of the settlement is under complete control of the armed forces of the Russian Federation. We believe that in coming week or in 2 weeks, the Russians will announce complete control over the territory, and this information will be confirmed also by the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation. At the same time, the Russians continue their offensive operation on the territory of the village by the name of Grishina. Today, this information was confirmed by several pro-Russian sources. So this is the situation by the end of the 7th of December, and this is already the 8th of December of 2025. The Russians, as you can see, improved their position significantly. Currently, the Russians control up to 20% of the settlement, and they continue advancing further in the northwestern direction. Now let's talk about the Zaporizhzhia direction. During the previous 12 hours, the sources continue reporting about additional progress on the ground, that the Russians continue offensive operation. During the previous 12 hours, the Russians improved their positions in the northern and the northeastern parts of the settlement of Gulyai-Polye, but as of the beginning of the 8th of December, the clashes are still taking place on the Russian side of the river of Gaichul. So this is a very important thing that we need to always keep in our minds. So until the Russians are located on the Russian side of the river of Gaichul, we can say that the front line is stable. But as soon as the Russians are able to cross the river and to begin clashes on the Ukrainian side, from this very moment we can start counting days before the city of Gulyai-Polye falls completely in the Russian hands. Another breakthrough took place in the western Zaporizhzhia direction. So this is the map by the beginning of the 8th of December, and as you can see, the map has been adjusted significantly. This is the situation by the end of the 7th, and this is the beginning of the 8th. According to several very reliable pro-Russian sources, as a result of clashes, the Russians managed to improve their position significantly. First of all, the Russians managed to take under complete control the Stepnogorsk citadel. This is the situation by the end of the 7th, and this is the situation by the end of the 8th of December. by the beginning of the 8th of December. The Russians secured the Stepnogorsk stronghold, which means that in coming days, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation will confirm this information. Furthermore, according to pro-Russian sources, the armed force of the Russian Federation also managed to answer this dense network of the fortifications, which is located to the east of the settlement of Stepnogorsk and to the southwest of the settlement of Lukyanovskaya. So this breakthrough in these fields tell us just about one thing, that the Russians are going to advance further deep inside of the Zaporizhzhia area with the purpose to establish complete control over the territory between the settlements of Mali Sherbaki, Pavlovka, Lukyanska and Stepnogorsk. So these territories are a primary target for the armed forces of the Russian Federation. So this is exactly what the Russians are tasked for the next months or weeks. The Russians will try to capture this territory, and if they can do this, if Russians can establish complete control over the territory, then Russians will continue offensive operation further in the eastern direction with the purpose to attack the settlement of Orekhov from behind. So we believe that by the time the Russians establish control over this territory, most likely the city of Gulyai-Polye will fall in Russia's hands, which means that Russians will be able to begin offensive operation in the direction of Orekhov at least from two sides, from the side of the city of Gulyai-Polye and from the settlement around the city of and from the territory around the city of Stepnogorsk. When the city of Orekhov falls, the Russians will begin their major and probably the main offensive in the direction of the city of Zaporizhzhia. And obviously, without the city of Zaporizhzhia, the Russians are not going to finish the special military operation, because probably almost at the same time, the Russians will be able to, or will reach the point when the battle for Donbas will enter its final phase. And that's it for the short video. Military Summary channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for your watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.